Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to review the real estate market analysis for Los Gatos, California for the month of December of 2008. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors and a certified ePro, and I'm also the president and CEO of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services, serving all of Silicon Valley. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the supply and demand numbers. The first thing we'll look at will be inventory. And as you can see, as we noted last month, we are seeing a dramatic increase in the inventory for Los Gatos. We're obviously setting records for the month of December. In fact, inventory is up 72.09% for Los Gatos. That's an increase of 62 homes in the inventory when compared to the same time last year. So from December 2007 to December 2008, the total number of homes on the market in Los Gatos increased by 62 homes, giving us a grand total of 148 homes currently on the market in Los Gatos. And that's just a shocking increase, and it's really played into Los Gatos becoming as hard hit as any other community in Santa Clara County as far as the real estate market is concerned. Now, if we take a look at the number of homes that were listed in the month of December, we can see that that number has increased as well when compared to the same time last year. It increased actually by 28%, which is 7 more homes listed than at the same time last year. So that's not good news. When you have such a high inventory compared to the same month in previous years, you really don't want to see those new listing numbers increase either. All that does is contribute to a steadily increasing inventory, which tends to drive down prices. Now, and remember, these numbers reflect only the month of December going back to 1999. So we don't need to take into account seasonal differences or any type of those types of things. This is just the month of December. So while we would normally expect to see more homes listed in an area in, say, the first quarter of the year, January, February, and March, we usually don't see that much happening in December. Usually it's a quieter month as far as new listings are concerned, as people tend to not put their homes on the market for the holiday season. So even when compared to previous Decembers, we're still seeing a pretty dramatic increase in homes listed, only being beaten out by 2005, which saw a pretty big chunk of homes added in added in the month of December. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the homes that sold. This is actually not fantastic news. We have seen a decrease in sales from the same time last year. Sales are actually down 27.27%. We sold 6 fewer homes in the month of December of 2008 than we did in December of 2007. That gave us a grand total of 17 homes sold. And these sales numbers are really what is contributing to just a dramatic increase in inventory. Along when you take all of these together, increases in homes being listed every month and a decrease in sales, our inventory numbers just keep accumulating because we can't keep up with the homes that are being added to the market. Now, as I like to do, let me share with you what the ratio is for the month of December of 2008. And what that number reflects is sort of an idea of if everything froze as it is right now, if the inventory numbers froze and the sold homes number froze, how long would it take us to sell off every home in the inventory? And right now that number stands at 8.7 months. Another way of thinking of that is for every home that sells, there's a little bit over 8 homes on the market trying to get sold. So there's a lot of competition out there. Buyers have a lot of options and a lot of things to choose from, and this number sort of reflects that. Now, on the positive side of the equation, it's a dramatic decrease from what we saw in November of 2008, where that number stood at 20.33 due to profoundly lower sales than normal. Now, to put it into context of the county overall, the county's average for this number was 6.85. So if everything on the county level froze, it would take about 6.85 months for everything to get sold. So what we're seeing is Los Gatos is actually underperforming the average for the county, and that's a fairly unusual situation. Los Gatos is usually considered one of those communities that tends to be a little bit more bulletproof than other communities because of its desirability. But this is actually the second month in a row where we have seen Los Gatos underperforming the average for the county. So we're going to have to take that, I suppose, for what it's worth. It doesn't indicate that we're going to see any sort of dramatic improvement in the market in Los Gatos anytime terribly soon, simply because we do have these huge inventory numbers to contend with. So I'd project we're going to see the same sort of trends going on. Now, before I move into the supply and demand numbers, just going over past months, I also wanted to share with you the locations of the homes that have sold in December. As you can see, they're pretty well spread out, even to areas that some folks don't typically associate with being in Los Gatos, way over near Keto Road, those types of areas. What's interesting is we are seeing pretty good motion or pretty good sales right along what I like to call the Los Gatos Boulevard corridor, which includes for me Los Gatos Boulevard going up about 4 or 5 blocks on either side of that road. And then, of course, also off of Los Gatos Almaden Road as well. A lot of good action there. And actually some very beautiful homes still listed in those areas for anyone who's still interested in those. Some great deals to be had right in those areas. And rents, very good right now, very robust. We're seeing increases in that as more folks are coming into the market after having to leave a home for one reason or another and needing to find rental properties. All right, now let's go ahead and look at those supply and demand numbers for the past months. Now, what we're going to look at here are the same exact numbers, but the only difference being that this is just going straight back all the way to September of 2007. So you will need to understand seasonal influences here and understand that we tend to see more things happening in the summer months. First, we'll look at the inventory numbers, and we can see those are actually down from last month. In fact, inventory is down 19.13% from the month of November of 2008. That's 35 fewer homes in the market. That's actually pretty good news, but also pretty normal. Like I said before, as we head into the Christmas months, December, the holiday months, that inventory tends to drop as people take their properties off market until they're ready to put them back on the market for January, February, and March. And because of the new rules relating to how the MLS handles data, we're seeing a lot more folks taking homes off of the market for 30 days or more in these circumstances so that they're not continually connected to the old numbers of their listing. We can talk about, if you want more information on that, you can find it on a great article on it on my website at www.soldbyrobert.com. And it's the process of relisting, and there's some good information there if you'd like to review that. But we also saw a decrease in the number of homes that were listed from month to month, from November to December. Again, that's fairly typical. The number of homes that sold actually increased in December, and normally what we see in December, for every set of homes you see sold in a month, you can usually assume that the contract on that home got signed the month before, because it takes about 30 days for an escrow to close. So that increase in home sales is probably due mostly to homes that closed or had offers on them in the month of December that then closed in the month of December. Now let's go ahead and run down what the changes were. I already gave you what the inventory change was. The number of homes that were listed was down 33.33%. That was 16 fewer homes listed in the month of December than in November. Sales actually increased 77.78%, and that was 7 more homes sold in the month of December than in the month of November. Okay, let's go ahead and move on and take a look at the home prices for past years. And this is obviously going to be a unpleasant graph as we see the steady decline. We've seen a steady decline now in Los Gatos average home prices for a while now. If you'll remember, last month I actually had to do sort of a modified version of this because the average price was skewed to the high end by a couple of very high-end homes that sold. Now, the average home price is actually down 15.01% from the same time last year. So from December of 2007 to December of 2008, average home price is down 15.01%. That's a dollar change of $261,009. Now, the average priced home sold, or the average home price was $1,478,161. Now, the median price, which basically just tells us, which is the good news this month, is that the median and the average are actually pretty close together, which indicates that the average is giving us a pretty good idea of where the average really is. The median price change was actually down 13.38%. With a dollar value change of $222,100. The median standing at $1,437,500. So what does this tell us? Clearly, we're seeing some decline here. As far as the number of homes that are selling, it's pretty evenly distributed with the average. So in other words, half the homes that sold were above the average and half the homes that sold were about below the average. So that's a pretty good realistic average price that's being revealed through these numbers. Now, the highest priced single-family residential homes in Los Gatos, we actually had a tie in the month of December. 2 homes sold for $2.4 million. One was on 321 Santa Rosa Drive in Los Gatos. That home was originally listed for $2,850,000, and it was on the market for 178 days before it finally sold. The other home was on 126 Stacia Street in Los Gatos, and that was originally listed for $2,950,000 and sold after 239 days on the market. Interesting to note about one of these homes, I believe it's the Stacia home. is that the statistics that come out will actually show that that home's original listed price was not $2,950,000, but actually about $150,000 lower than that, because in that case, the owner did in fact take the home off the market for about 30 days to avoid it being linked to the previous numbers. So I've gone ahead and given you the real number here. That's really what they wanted to try and sell it for originally, but then had to relist it at a lower price. And that's another example of how statistics sometimes get skewed because of how listings get handled. Now, the lowest price single-family residential home in Los Gatos was at 16050 Los Gatos Almaden Road. Now, that sold for $615,000, was originally listed for $815,000, and that was on the market for 125 days before it finally sold. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at these same numbers, just going back to past months. The average price, as you can see, has gone up between November and December, and you'll notice that I have an M after the November 2008 numbers. That's because that's the modified number. After I went ahead and kind of compensated for the artificial increase in the average price, that's what the number was. So that's why there's an M there, because I felt like that was a more realistic number to include in this data. Now, as I said, the average home price was $1,478,161. Percentage price change between November and December was an increase of 6.77%. That was a $93,786 value change. The median price was up 35.61%. Let's go ahead and take a look at that graphically. And as you can see, the median and the average are much closer than in some past months. So clearly the volume of homes that have been getting sold were much, the price they were selling for was far below what the average is. It's always good when you can see the average and the median very close together like that. And again, 17 homes were sold in Los Gatos in the month of December. All right, now let's go ahead and move on the days to sell data. Again, it's not great news, and it fits in. I don't think there's any surprise here. This data fits in very comfortably with what we've already been discussing. The days to sell were the number of days it took to get a home sold in December of 2008 increased by 9.2 days. That's a percentage increase of 8%. Now, the lowest days on market was 9 days, and the longest days on market was 239 days. And you can see we've had some pretty lengthy times to get homes sold in the past in Los Gatos. Back in 2001, 2002, 2003, the market was hit pretty strong by the tech bubble bursting back in 2001. I'm sure with our current troubles that memory may have faded a little bit in comparison. But back then, we still haven't reached the sort of time it took to get a home sold as we did back then. Although we are seeing our other statistical numbers performing far worse than we did in that particular time. Up to about 95 days, that's actually a very good number. In fact, in the past, I've tried to lay this number out more for you to try to give a more of a realistic idea of how long it would really take you to get your home sold. And the reality is this is a very solid number. We're not seeing the spread that we used to see, where we'd see homes that had sold within the first week, and then strange groupings of numbers way out there that this sort of skewed this number. That 95-day number is actually pretty realistic. Homes that sold before they were even put on the MLS, which used to happen quite frequently in Los Gatos, we had none of those in the month of December. Homes on the market for 1 to 7 days, 0 homes fell into that category. We only had 2 homes that sold in 8 to 30 days. We had 8 homes that sold in 31 to 90 days, 5 homes that sold in 90 to 180 days, and 2 homes that sold in 180 days or more. So the bottom line is I think that's a very realistic number. Only 11% of the homes in Los Gatos that sold did so in less than 30 days. So this is I think the 95. If you were to list your home right now and you had a halfway competent, and unfortunately there aren't even many agents out there that are halfway competent. But if you find a competent agent out there, 95 days is pretty realistic. But just keep in mind that the market's a lot tighter. There are fewer buyers out there, and you've got a huge inventory that you're wrestling with in Los Gatos. So it's going to be a tough slog. You need to be 100% prepared for that home to be listed correctly. Now, for those of you who follow all the other junk I put out there on the internet as far as podcasts, articles, and whatnot, I've been complaining a lot about how agents are not putting homes on the market ready to go the day it hits the MLS. If you're thinking about listing your home, or someone who is, make sure that they communicate very clearly to their agent that they expect everything on the multiple listing service and on all the advertising that's going to happen to be 100% ready the day that thing gets listed. Let me explain why. And I know I normally don't go into this kind of thing in this particular presentation, but I think it's so important that it's worth taking a minute out to do it. The key here is the way buyers are buying houses right now. And I know that I've got quite a few folks that are getting automated mailing lists from me, just telling them when homes list in certain areas. And what they're doing is typically the average person who's out there buying is getting it once a week on Fridays, and they are getting all the homes that have listed since the last time they got the list. They look at those homes, they review them for how appropriate they are to what they want, and then the ones that they don't like, they toss, and the other ones we go look at over the weekend. Now, if your listing hits during one of those weeks and a buyer sees it and there's no photos, there's inadequate descriptions of the property, no other materials, say virtual tours or extended photographs listed anywhere, and just generally not good information, that listing is just going to get thrown to the side, and it's going to become instantly stale. The way the market has changed, because there are so many homes available, buyers don't have the time to fool around with these listings that don't have complete information. So what you're finding is that a listing becomes stale much faster than in past market situations. So make sure you're 100% ready to go. You have to make that first impression count, and your first impression is going to be either that MLS search or someone searching the internet, and make sure that is not falling short, because I've seen homes that have been on the market forever, and I'm after looking at them and keeping track of them, it is clear to me that the reason is because they were not properly put together and made ready to market right at the beginning. So I hope that information helps folks who are in this situation where they might be selling. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at days to sell in past months. This is now going back to August of 2007. This is just a straight calendar shot of how many days it has taken to sell. You'll notice that there'll be some big increases, some drops. You can see that in the winter months we get a big peak in the number of days it takes to get homes sold. Is there anything we can glean from some of this information to give us an idea where we're going? I don't know. The market's really in a state of flux right now. Now, the days to sell, when compared to November of 2008, between November and December, we saw an increase of 28.38%. That's a 21-day increase. Now, last year, if we look at the same time period, we can see in December we saw an increase from November to December. That's actually fairly normal. And we should expect to see a decrease in this number in January. It's actually a little bit unusual to see such a big jump in days on market in February. But again, we're not in a normal market. And let me tell you why you see these big jumps. When you see these big jumps in days to sell, what you're really seeing is probably in the same month that number went high, you're seeing an increased number of homes being sold, an unusually high number of homes getting sold. And the reason why this number of days to sell jumps is because we're suddenly selling homes that have been on the market forever. We're cutting a little bit more deeply in the inventory, reducing a little bit more. So some of these homes that have been on the market forever are suddenly selling, and then we see this sort of artificial jump in the days to sell numbers. Also, what you'll notice is agents, after they've had listings for an exceptionally long time, usually right after winter is when they'll hit their sellers with the bad news that they probably should have hit their sellers with about 4 months earlier, and suggest that they reduce the price. And often the long listing coupled with a reduction in price, then you'll see that home sell, and you'll see a big jump in the days to sell on market. So when we're looking at this, try to remember what we were seeing before and realize that this isn't always bad news. It's actually usually good news because we're selling off old inventory. All right, now I do appreciate you coming out and listening to what I have to say on these various market analysis shows. And if you'd like to look at the rest of them or listen to any of my other podcasts that I do on a semi-weekly basis, or read any of my other articles on real estate, you can find all of those at www.soldbyrobert.com. If you'd prefer to contact me directly via email, feel free to do that at robert@soldbyrobert.com. Or if you'd like to give me a phone call, discuss anything relating to real estate, or talk about homes here in Silicon Valley or anywhere from San Francisco down to Monterey Bay, actually, since I can get information on all those types of homes, feel free to call me at 408-852-0525. If you're someone who prefers to chat online, you can find me on AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, and Yahoo IM with the screen name The Rebel Broker. And if you use Skype, screen name there, just Rebel Broker. Now, of course, referrals are always appreciated. If you or anyone you know is interested in buying or selling or investing in real estate in Silicon Valley, I would love to get a call, and feel free to use any of the methods I've spelled out here to get in touch with me, and I can help you get started with whatever your needs in real estate are. And I can also help you find the right agent no matter where you are in the United States. I can go through the process of asking the right questions after finding out what your needs are and help you track down the perfect agent for your needs. Again, thanks for coming out, and I look forward to talking to you next time.